What is up? My name is Matt, working for Cinematography Database, and today we're going to be looking at the cinematography of an Under Armour commercial called Curry 3. And we're back. So, on Twitter, Alex Heinonen, Alex H to be safe, he wrote to me and said, "Damn, at Cine Database," which is my handle on Twitter. I wish I had made it just Cinematography DB or something that wasn't that, but that's it. So go follow me on Twitter if you want to ask me questions or throw stuff like this at me. This is the place where I'm paying most attention to that. He writes again, "Damn, at Cine Database, you need to do a breakdown of the new Under Armour ad. Make that old fresh AF." We all know what that means. And then he gave me the link to the actual commercial, and the thumbnail right there looks really cool. I was like, oh, there's some colored light. It looks like a music video. I watched it for like half a second. I was like, that's it. That's the one I'm going to do this week. So that's what we're going to be doing. To start, you can actually go find this exact shot that I'm kind of recreating. And we have this big gym, right? Really big gym. Pretty standard, really shiny floor with the markings. We've got the basketball net, and what I think up here is actually happening, you can't really see it, but there's this really big black square, which you'll see later, and that might be windows. There might normally be windows and daylight coming through there, and they might have blacked it out. That's just a guess, I'm not sure, but looking at a bunch of different layouts for basketball courts, having to make this in 3D, that's what I saw. But to start, the base light in this and practical is going to be this series here of LEDs. So right here, there's 6 on each side. They're horizontal, and they're pretty much set up symmetrically. And what you're going to get from that is this kind of like, it almost looked like blacklight blue. I don't know exactly the gels, but to me it was a blue gel, you know, so it could have been daylight, but it seemed a little bit more cyan, so a little bit more towards green in my opinion. These are going to reflect in the floor down here. That's one of the great things about a shiny floor is you don't typically have to light it if you're using practicals. And so that's one of the base elements of this shot as far as lighting. But down here we have a gimbal, and I would guess that it's a Movi. I'll write it out. M15, that would be my guess. And I think this looks like a red camera to me, and I feel like this was before the heliums, though helium would have been a really good choice. I would guess that this is an Epic. Maybe the Dragon. I'm writing on the jib now. Drogan. Spelling, it's just not my strong suit, and there's no spell check when you write it by hand, so that's what we're going with. And it definitely looked anamorphic, and my guess would be that this was either, for the lenses, I would say a Kawa anamorphic lens, nice and small to fit on a gimbal. Okay, so now we're looking through the camera again, and we got rid of the blue lights just so that we could look at the next lights that are in this scene, and these are vertical fluorescence again. Now, these are either fluorescent, like Kinoflows wrapped in gel tubes, or they could be Quasar Science tubes, again with gel tubes, or they could be Light Gear RGB sticks, which I don't know how you get those yet. I've only seen them on Instagram. I don't know if those are available yet. I've never really used them or even seen them, but those would presumably have RGB AV in it, so you could just dial in the color temperature and also the color, the hue. But in either case, up top there's 4 columns of these LED tubes. I'm guessing LED. And as we look at the behind the scenes again, these are doing something interesting, right? So they're both practicals. They show up in the shot and they're lighting the scene. So they're going to also reflect in the floor down here. And they're just going to be giving a lot of kind of black light feeling, purple light ambient all over the room. When you have this many of them and you probably ISO up to like, I don't know, 1600 or something like that. I guess it depends how bright these are. They're going to put out a lot of light as well. And someone asked me to call out the white balance. Typically for these, I would guess that the camera is going to be white balanced at 5600. That's a lot. Like a lot of these LEDs are native 5600, and on top of that, then they have the color. Whereas if you balanced your camera to 3200, they would all have a blue cast on top of the color. So a lot of the times when you're shooting LED with colored gels, it's going to be, you're going to balance the camera here. I don't know what that is. You're going to balance the camera to 5600 Kelvin. That's my guess. And the last layer of light before we start to put these all on together is going to be these tungsten lights. Now, I couldn't tell exactly what they were, so this is just a big guess. And they're actually not reflecting in the floor. In the actual spot, there's a huge reflection here and a huge reflection there as well. And these are kind of like some sort of square tungsten light. Now, it could have been an LED, and for Cine Designer here, I used my 1x1 Astra, and I kept them at 3200 Kelvin, while all the other lights were 5600. And the camera was 5600, so they came out a little bit orange, or a lot of bit orange really, a full CTO orange. But these could have also been like a 9 light, like a mini Fay, something like that, or a Fay light, which is like 9 small, like 32. I forget what those type of bulbs are called, but they're little like spotlight looking bulbs. Could have been that as well. And actually, what I'm not showing here is that because they were shooting anamorphic, there's like this big flare that was happening, like big flares here, not like like fat, but like a lot of flares there. So that's what helps kind of give this whole thing like a cohesive feeling to it. Whereas the CG version of it feels a little bit, and it doesn't feel like as cool as the real version. Here's the behind the scenes of just the tungsten lights. There's a light right behind the basketball net, and there was one I think on each side, though I only illustrated one here, kind of pointing into the scene as well. And again, they were flaring a lot more than what I'm showing here. So let's start to combine these together. So here is just the blue LEDs. Here is just the pink or purple LEDs. And here's the both on at the same time. So what we're kind of getting here, let's see if I can grab some color here, is we get this kind of like purple wash over everything. That's mostly coming from these top lights. So it's kind of like a top ambient coming down. It's very purple. And then from these lights, I feel like they're not going around as much. They're not getting into the environment as much, but they're definitely reflecting on the floor. And they do hit up this wall, which I believe looked like it was made out of like slab concrete. And that's what I tried to recreate there as well. You can see that reflected in his skin. And also in the final spot, there's definitely a little bit of blue ambient on him here. That might have just been like an area sky panel dialed blue just for a fill. I don't know if they had the same lights on the other side. If it was a big shoot, they would have. I would assume that you wouldn't have had to do that as well, but there was a little bit of blue fill on that side. In the behind the scenes shot, again, just the blue, just the purple, and both together. And just like in the actual shot, we're seeing a lot of purple up here. I guess I'll grab like kind of a pink. We're seeing a lot of this purple, just like basically adding a lot of top ambient to the scene. And the blue is mostly staying down here. I don't think it's getting around as much. So here's both the blue and purple lights. And here's adding it in with the orange. And now this doesn't look exactly the same. So this is adding the tungsten lights in. It's not exactly the same. I could probably color correct it a little bit closer, but you get the idea. Go watch the actual spot. This is doing a lot more like flaring and blooming, as was this. There was a lot more like orange in the actual scene. I just really couldn't get my lights to do that. Maybe there was a little bit more atmosphere in the scene. Maybe I should have hazed this or something like that, but that's what I saw. And to wrap this all up, we're going to go through all the different layers of light. In the behind the scenes shot, we have the blue light, the purple light, the tungsten light, just the blue and purple, and then everything on all at once. And imagine that there's some nice anamorphic Kowa lens flares on there. That is how the Under Armour commercial was lit. There's a couple other scenes, but this was the big lighting setup. I would assume this is what everybody wanted to see. And for those of you that are interested, this is the Cinedesigner scene that I was using to create this. You can see the LED tubes in the back. Those come with Cinedesigner. And here is our jib with a movie on the end of it. Oops. And the floor I just modeled myself, though I might be making different location like this available for the Cinedesigner users in the future. And you can see here that I can move the jib up and down and find the camera height. Lots of fun stuff in Cinedesigner. I wanted to show this to you guys really quickly before the end of the video. So that is going to wrap it up for this video. I can tell that I'm overexposed, but I'm just going to go with it. If you like the video, give the video a like on the bottom. Subscribe to the channel. We've got a lot more coming. And in the comments below, I don't know what to say. You guys just write something. I don't know what to say this time, but my call to action really is, if you want to be a little bit more interactive with me, with the show, with the channel, really come find me on Twitter. Twitter is one of the best places for me to interact with people that are watching the show. Email actually to me directly at my Gmail account is one of the worst places, because I should have written this on the website. That's actually for my business stuff primarily. So it's mostly manufacturers I'm working with, people I'm collaborating with, stuff like that. So if it's just a general question or request, email is actually one of the worst places. I read it quickly, but I have to keep moving on. Twitter and the YouTube comments, that's the place to hit me. I will see you guys on the next episode. You get out there and plan better, shoot better.